Bonita and the Bandit will premiere in full color on March 31st on my YouTube channel.
Well, I guess we're back.
Gruff. Previously on Gruff.
Holy shit. Don't hit me. I actually don't want to be on camera right now. That's right. As of the 31st of March, righteousrobot has released yet another masterpiece of a short film. Now, this short film we already knew about from the previous short film, Gruff. It was the small TV show that was present in the story itself, used as a narrative device to move the plot forward or to give more context to certain scenes. But since Julian put so much work into the actual show, he decided to release it all on its own, fully in color, and it is amazing. And of course, naturally, I also had to react and record alongside it, hoping that this time I wouldn't bawl my eyes out on camera. God, I am nervous. I don't want to cry on camera again. Now, this short film is 3 times as short as Gruff, but is still given so much love, care, and attention. You can tell with every single little detail that there was a lengthy thought process behind each choice. And since Julian actually commented on our video about Gruff, and even posted it on his own community page, explaining that he really liked how well researched the video was, I decided to go out of my way to try put in as much research as I could about this video. So, Bonita and the Bandit opens up with some establishing shots of the Wild West. I do know how this goes kind of, because I've seen Gruff.
And impenetrable.
Narrated by the incredible voice of Bradford Loomis, who is a rhythm and roots artist whose music is described as a marriage between grit and melody that digs into American folklore. We then cut to another establishing shot of the people of Oldentown, as the score composed by Roland Bigerman begins to play. Roland Bigerman has also worked on shows like C on Apple TV+, and Snoopy Presents To Mom and Dad with Love, also on Apple TV+. And as the narration continues, I'm just going to hop in with a little bit more information about the score itself, because as I said at the beginning of this video, I did my research. Some of the actual sounds that we hear in the score is paper itself, which I think is incredible. Not only the fact that the main medium that this show is presented in is paper, but paper being used as an actual sound in the score brings everything so nicely together. It is such a smart decision artistically.
This paper percussion that's sitting over top of it, it kind of brings it all together so you get this.
And as we pan across the characters that live in Oldentown, I can talk about the actual character design that Julian chose. Wasn't it black and white in Gruff? It looks really nice in color.
Forgiving land and less forgiving times. They are Gruff.
I love the different design in this one. Julian wanted these characters to look different from the original short film Gruff by having them look stockier and almost more geometric in shape, basically having less curve to them and more square-like features. As he mentioned in one of his YouTube shorts, he did this to emphasize the shape language of the characters in this short film.
I wanted to explore a slightly different style for the characters than those in the main film, so the people of Oldentown got really square, stocky shape language to reflect their stern, sturdy personas.
Shape language being a concept used by artists to give the viewer or reader a easy to understand description without having to actually describe a character. Basically, if they're big and stocky, you expect them to be strong or tough. Which is why when we see the Bandit, we see him being very thin and wiry. Very similar in design concept to characters like Dick Dastardly or Waluigi. And it's also why when we see Bonita, she's very small in stature with circular features, showing her age, but still having this broad shoulder base emphasized by the puffy sleeves of her t-shirt.
Trapped in the clutches of the bandit Pistolero, darling
Pistolero, we learn his name.
The people of Oldentown plead with their fearless protector for hope.
Also in this shot, I noticed that the rope isn't actually made of paper, which makes sense, but as far as I'm aware, might be one of the only things in the entire Gruff and Bonita and the Bandit short film little franchise that is not made of paper. which really makes it stick out, making it so the viewer's attention is directed at the rope, meaning that even without having to describe what's going on in this scene, the casual viewer is already aware. As the story continues, we meet Bonita's mum, complaining to the sheriff that Bonita's been kidnapped.
All this quiet and brooding ain't bringing our Bonita back. We need a plan.
Played by Christine Curry, wife of Juliancuri, creator of Gruff, but has also starred, written, and been additional crew for other short films made by Righteous Robot, according to IMDb. We also met Christine during the live Q&A after show after the initial release of Gruff. The next character we meet is this large mustached fellow.
Now, don't you worry, little miss. El Mayor's more the strong, silent type.
El Mayo.
Guns do the
Mayo?
talking.
But in their moment of need, El Mayor did the unthinkable.
El Mayor.
The unpredictable.
El
the
Mayor.
Absolutely unexpected. And addressed the people of Olden Town.
Who is consoling Bonita's mother, saying El Mayor knows what he's doing. Though, I'm not quite sure who voices this character. I've checked through the casting and the credits, and as far as I'm aware, this character is not Bonita's father, played by Juliancuri, and also isn't one of the farmer couple that we see later on in the short film. So, I'm gonna have to leave that one a blank because I'm not sure who voices this character. Either way, the next character to talk is El Mayor himself, mentioning to the people of Olden Town that he will go and meet the Pistolero, but he needs them behind him.
I will meet the Pistolero, but I must not be alone.
It's great how on this you can actually see the mouths are animated different from Gruff. Cutting back to Bonita and the Pistolero, we hear Bonita talk for the very first time, voiced again by Christine Curry, this time pitched up,
to give her more of a childlike voice.
This is also where we hear the Pistolero's voice for the first time, played by Vince Malamed or Malamed, sorry for any mispronunciation, who also voices the mayor of Olden Town, whose voice work you may have previously heard on shows like Tuttle Twins, but also in games like Mafia 3. But those are just a few minor examples found on IMDb. Going on to Vince's actual website, you can see that there actually is quite an impressive list of voices that Vince has played and music that he has contributed to projects throughout the years. So now that I have really emphasized how absolutely stacked the voice cast is, we can continue with the story.
Right now, once I got my gold, I'll be ready in this lousy town.
There's also a lot more voice actors in this. It's really interesting to see.
You mean you'll see?
Think again, senorita.
I really want to know who did all these voices. They're really good. So after the Pistolero's monologue, we see him raise his gun into the air and fire off a single shot, which Julian made an entire YouTube short about making these pistols. So it inspired me, someone who knows nothing about the Wild West or guns, to try and figure out what guns these could be. The Pistolero's gun appears to be designed after the Colt single-action army revolver. And seen later in the short film, El Mayor's pistols seem to be 1873 Cavalier model revolvers. Though, again, I know nothing about guns, being a Brit. This is purely based on speculation. They could also just be very simple designs of revolvers, not based around any particular design specifically. And it's during the conversation between Bonita and the Pistolero where we get the main theme of this short film. How each of them view the worth of someone. The Pistolero explaining,
I could tell the measure of a man by the sling of his slang.
which interpreted I think just means it's in the way you hold yourself and the way you portray yourself. Whereas Bonita says it's in how someone does things. Basically, the classic saying of actions speaking louder than words. Though, as a fun side note, in the UK, we would say the cut of your jib instead of the sling of your slang, which is just a fun little thing. We then get this comical little back and forth between Farmer Jim and Farmer Jane.
Well, answer me this, Farmer Jane. Why is it wise when El Mayor's quiet, but dull when I'm a-pondering?
Yeah, why is that, Why can't I be wise?
Yes.
Well, sometimes it ain't.
Oh, what you knew about wisdom?
Yeah, there's
and-
way more voice actors
You
in
take that
this.
back, Farmer Jim.
Yes, ma'am.
Voiced by Kesa and Keely Johnson. Kaiser Johnson, known for many previous roles, including roles in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, Starfield, Harry Potter Magic Awakened. It's pretty stacked, as I mentioned. And Keely Johnson was rather hard to find on IMDb, so I have no information. Is what I would say if I didn't do my research. Keely Johnson, as credited in the description of Bonita and the Bandit, is known as Keely Bright on IMDb, who also has a very long, stacked list, such as Call of Duty Vanguard and Higher Education. I told you, I did my research. The only other piece of information I have on the cast as a whole is that Ivy Eisenberg is credited as a casting director and producer for Gruff on IMDb. Though this information doesn't come directly from the YouTube channel, so I can't validate its legitimacy. So, as we come to the showdown, surrounded by the 7 individual buildings of Oldentown that were all meticulously made by Julian from cardboard and coloured copy paper, spending a lot of time on each individual detail, which is really impressive, and it was really fun to see how they were put together in the YouTube short Julian made.
Which then had to be aged again to look as rundown as possible. Now, with the more traditional Adobe-style buildings, I wanted them to look like they'd been there for generations and were built with the same earth that they stood on. Still, they had to get aged in weather to look cohesive with the rest of the town, but altogether, I felt like this main street already started telling a story of its own.
And so, as El Mayor lays down his pistols, exclaiming he will never use them again, we come to the second theme of this short film. Family.
I vow to lay down my arms forever.
Yeah, this was in Gruff.
Of this innocent.
I ain't got the words. The great Mayor without pistolas? Your town will be wiped from the map in a month.
El Mayor mentions that there is strength in his family, in his community, that he himself is not its sole protector, but the love and care that everyone shares with each other is what truly protects them all. And so we go through the additional characters, having broken bottles, pitchforks, and the buffest granny known to man.
I have mi pueblo, mi familia.
Mi pueblo. I don't know what that means, but I like it.
In ways you have yet to witness.
Yeah! Yeah! God, that granny's built! And so, as the pistolero runs away in fear of the people of Oldentown, the short film begins to come to a close. All of this just gives full context to the show as a whole, which then gives additional layers of context to Gruff the short film, which makes it so amazing that all of these added details bring out so much more life into a short film that already brought millions of people to tears. And as we are brought out by Roland Bigerman's score, which is now available on Spotify, by the way, I am left in awe. Wow, getting way more context for these scenes is really interesting. God, all these sets are so gorgeous. It's insane that all of these sets were used for little snippets inside of sets, or inside of the TV inside of sets. It's really impressive. And again, super well done and super clean. I'm not crying. This is good. This is a good outcome. That was really good. Sorry about the sudden lighting switch. My light died again because I always forget to charge it because I'm stupid. And the last little thing I want to talk about while in this awful lighting is the actual poster. The poster for Bonita and the Bandit is done in a poster art style that was heavily used in the 50s and 60s, mainly to advertise, well, Western stories. A little thing I learnt about this style of poster art is that it was partly inspired by the part caricature, part realism posters that were popularized by the French artist Toulouse-Lautrec. And so, while I sit here in the worst lighting known to man, I just want to say, incredible job. It was another fantastic short story told in a style that is unique and different. A art that, while no, it didn't bring me to tears, still made me so sentimental and happy, reminding me that family is strong, and it's not just people of blood, it's friends, it's community, it's people you choose to surround yourself with that hold you high, and that are there for you when you don't feel like fighting. So to end this video off, I will use a quote that I think surmises Julian's craft very well. Everything you look at can become a fairy tale, and you can get a story from everything you touch. Thank you, Julian.